Imagine living in a world filled with dhulm, oppression, injustice, and darkness. A world where the weak have no voice, where daughters are buried alive, where truth is ignored and falsehood is celebrated. Now imagine that from this very world, Allah chooses one man to bring light to humanity, a man who would change the course of history forever. This is the story of Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam. He was born in the city of Mecca into the tribe of Quraysh, a place known for trade, poetry, and also for idol worship. Even before his birth, his life was surrounded by hardship. His father passed away before he was born, and at the age of 6, he lost his mother. Soon after, his grandfather, who cared deeply for him, also passed away. From a young age, he experienced loss, loneliness, and struggle. Yet these hardships did not break him. Instead, they shaped him into a man of strength, patience, and deep compassion. As he grew older, people in Mecca began to notice something special about him. He was known for his honesty, his integrity, and his character. They gave him a title that no one else had, Al-Amin, the trustworthy. In a society filled with dishonesty and injustice, he stood out as someone who never lied, never cheated, and always treated others with fairness. Even those who would later oppose him trusted him with their valuables. As time passed, he became deeply disturbed by the corruption around him. People worshipped idols made of stone, the poor were oppressed, women were mistreated, truth had been replaced with ignorance. He would often retreat to the cave of Seerah, seeking solitude, reflecting on the state of the world, and searching for truth. Then, one night, everything changed. At the age of 40, while he was in the cave, the angel Jibreel appeared to him and commanded him to read. The Prophet alayhi salam, who could not read, responded with confusion and fear. But the command came again, and then the first words of revelation were sent. Read in the name of your Lord who created. This moment marked the beginning of his prophethood. It was the moment when darkness began to be replaced with light. Shaken and overwhelmed, he returned home to his beloved wife, Khadija, radiyallahu anha, who comforted him and reassured him. She believed in him when no one else did. She reminded him of his good character, his honesty, and his kindness, and she supported him from the very beginning. The message he was given was simple yet powerful. Worship Allah alone, abandon false gods, and live a life of justice, compassion, and truth. But the people of Mecca were not ready to accept this message. At first, he called people quietly. A few accepted Islam, including close friends and family. But when he began to preach openly, the opposition grew stronger. The leaders of Quraysh felt threatened. Islam challenged their power, their traditions, and their way of life. They mocked him, insulted him, and accused him of being a liar. But the Prophet alayhi salam never responded with anger. He remained patient, calm, and steadfast. As more people began to accept Islam, the persecution intensified. Muslims were tortured, boycotted, and oppressed. Some were killed for their faith. The Prophet himself faced immense hardship. He was rejected by his own people, insulted in public, and even physically harmed. Yet through all this, he continued to call people to Islam with mercy and patience. One of the most painful moments in his life came when he lost two of the people closest to him, his beloved wife Khadija and his uncle Abu Talib, who had protected him. This year became known as the Year of Sorrow. Imagine losing your greatest supporter and your strongest protector in the same year while facing constant rejection and hardship. But even in his grief, he did not give up. He traveled to Taif, hoping to find people who would accept his message. But instead of welcoming him, they rejected him harshly. They mocked him and drove him out of the city, throwing stones at him until he bled. In that very moment, when he was wounded and humiliated, he did not ask Allah to destroy them. Instead, he raised his hands and made a dua filled with humility and hope, asking Allah to guide them or their descendants. This was the character of the Prophet alayhi salam. Even when people hurt him, he wished goodness for them. Later, Allah honored him with the miraculous journey of Isra and Miraj, where he was taken from Mecca to Jerusalem and then raised to the heavens. It was during this journey that the 5 daily prayers were made obligatory for the Muslims. This gift of salat became a direct connection between the believer and Allah. Eventually, the command came for the Prophet and the Muslims to migrate to Medina. This migration, known as the Hijrah, marked a turning point in Islamic history. In Medina, the Prophet established a community based on faith, justice, and brotherhood. He united people from different tribes and backgrounds, creating a society built on equality and compassion. But even in Medina, challenges continued. There were battles, enmity, and trials. Yet through every difficulty, the Prophet demonstrated wisdom, patience, and trust in Allah. Years later, he returned to Mecca not as a victim, but as a leader with strength and dignity. The city that once rejected him was now under his control. This was the moment many expected revenge. But what did the Prophet alayhi salam do? He forgave them. He stood before the very people who had hurt him, persecuted him, and driven him out of his home, and he said, "No blame will there be upon you today. Go, for you are free." This act of forgiveness was one of the most powerful moments in history. It showed the true essence of Islam: mercy, compassion, and forgiveness. Allah describes him in the Qur'an with these beautiful words, "And we have not sent you, O Muhammad, except as a mercy to the worlds." In Surah Al-Anbiya, verse 207. He was not just a prophet for one group of people, he was a mercy for all of humanity. In another verse, Allah says, "And indeed, you are of a great moral character." In Surah Al-Qalam, verse 6. His character was the Qur'an in action. He was kind to children, gentle with the weak, and respectful even to those who disagreed with him. He taught people how to live, how to treat others, how to worship Allah, and how to find peace in dunya and success in the hereafter. As his mission came to completion, he delivered his final sermon, reminding people of equality, justice, and the importance of holding on to the Qur'an and his teachings. Not long after, he became ill. In his final moments, he continued to think about his Ummah. He reminded them about prayer and kindness. His last concern was not wealth, power, or status. It was the guidance of his people. And then he returned to his Lord. But his message remains alive. My dear brothers and sisters, the story of Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam is not just a story from the past, it is a guide for our present and our future. His life teaches us patience in hardship, humility in success, and mercy in all situations. No matter what you are going through, remember that the Prophet alayhi salam faced greater challenges and remained steadfast. If you feel lost, remember how he turned to Allah. If you feel hurt, remember how he forgave. If you feel weak, remember his strength and trust in Allah. His life is a reminder that no matter how dark the world becomes, light can always emerge through faith. Take a moment now and reflect on your own life. How close are you to the teachings of the Prophet alayhi salam? How often do you follow his example? If this reminder touched your heart, take a step today to come closer to Allah. Begin with something small, a sincere prayer, a moment of gratitude, a kind act towards someone. And if this message benefited you, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, share it with others, and subscribe for more reminders that bring hearts closer to Allah. Because one reminder can change a heart, and one changed heart can change a life. May Allah send peace and blessings upon Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam and guide us to follow his path. Ameen.